Hey guys, welcome back to my weekly live stream, Stream Like a Boss, where I help coaches, consultants, and course creators leverage on camera content so you can stand out more online, serve more people, and sell more services. Now I've told you more about me. No?
Okay, my turn. Hi, I'm Tanya Smith, and welcome to my channel. This is the Stream Like a Boss TV series. We go live each and every week, and we're here to teach coaches, consultants, and course creators how to serve more people, stand out online, and sell more of your services. So we do that each and every week by teaching you different video strategies, how to be on camera. And tonight, what I want to do is to talk a little bit about green screens. Now, this is a topic I've talked about before, but specifically what I want to cover are a couple of things around using green screens in small spaces. So I decided to invite my college student,
Special guest.
my special guest, Naya, to participate in tonight's live stream so that, first of all, she can get a feel for how this works. And then secondly, so that she could really demonstrate some of the techniques that I'm going to talk about, because not only do I want to share with you some of the more common questions, which she's going to ask in a short interview style question and answer in a few minutes, but I'm also going to demo some of the common mistakes that most people make with green screens. So if you have questions as we're walking through the Q&A that we do together, or even the demo itself, don't hesitate to write those into the chat. I'll be watching to make sure that I cover your questions. Now, if you're new, what she was going to say is, if you're new, type in #newbie. And if you have been here before and you're part of my wonderful Stream Like a Boss community and network, be sure to type in #OG. So I love getting to see your comments and your chat each and every week, and I'll be looking for those in just a few short seconds. Before we actually go live with the Q&A and start talking about green screens in small spaces, which is our topic this evening, what I want to do is to just quickly go ahead and do an intro video to give you enough time to go grab yourself your favorite drink, whether it's tea, coffee, water, whatever that may be. And then we're going to come back and dive into tonight's content. All right, I'm so looking forward to seeing you. Let me see. I see a few comments right there. There's one of my OGs in the house. Marcia, wonderful to see you, lady. Awesome. And I know that there's going to be a few other folks that are joining us as well from the Stream Like a Boss community, which, by the way, that reminds me, I want to remind you about tomorrow's office hours. So if you haven't already RSVP'd and you're in our Stream Like a Boss community, make sure you RSVP to let me know that you're going to be there at office hours, which is just kind of an open space for us to connect and network, talk about video trends, get your questions answered, and just have a little bit of fun on a Friday. So I will see you there. Give me just a second and we will be right back. All right, everybody. So Tanya here again. And again, we're going to talk about green screen questions. So Naya, I know that you were asking me a few questions about green screens and how best to use them. We do have a little bit of a tiny space. We're kind of squeezed in here together. But this is my actual studio. This is what I use each and every week to go live. What I want to do is to demonstrate for you what it looks like when I'm using a green screen and some of the common reasons to use those. But let's dive in and go ahead and ask your first question.
What is the purpose of a green screen and why do we use one?
So why do we use a green screen? So there's a couple of different answers to that. And one of the things that we really kind of think about using green screens for, especially as live streamers in our service provider businesses, is if you have a space that you feel not quite confident about, like it's not a professional space, it's not one that represents you well, but yet you want to make sure that you're still leveraging live streaming video, the best way to do that to get that professional look is either to use a blurred background, which a lot of people are doing nowadays, and that's available, for instance, if you use Zoom. With some other apps, there's also availability for you to actually blur if you're using something called OBS. I believe StreamYard even gives you the ability to blur now, but Restream does not yet do that unless you're using a third-party space like OBS to connect to it. But if you're trying to give yourself a different look, if you want to just have a little fun or you want to emphasize the content you're talking about. So let's say that you are talking about being on the beach and doing your laptop life on the beach. You may want to have a beach background, or you just may want to switch it up because you get a little bored, like sometimes I do. Or what if you're doing an interview, somebody's interviewing you for a visual or video podcast, and you want to have a branded background with your name running across? You can do that as well by using a green screen. So there's lots and lots of different reasons why people use green screens. It's super easy to do once you get the hang of it, but I want to share some tips with you tonight on how not to do it, especially again, if you have a tiny space. If you do have questions as we're kind of walking through this, make sure you put those into the chat in the comments. I definitely want to welcome again my daughter, Naya. In case you don't know who this is, she's home from college. So I just invited her to be a guest, kind of a special guest interviewer on my show. All right, so what's your next question?
So where do I get these green screens, and does it have to be an expensive one?
So if you are looking to purchase a green screen, first of all, there's a couple of things. If you're using Zoom, for instance, there is a way for you to actually turn on green screen without having an actual green screen. In fact, there are other platforms similar to Zoom that do the same thing. I think Blue Jeans allows you this fake virtual green screen, and there's one other one I can't think of right now. But it's always best, if you're going to use the green screen effect, to have a real green screen. And the reason for that is if you don't, you end up kind of almost diminishing the professional look and appearance of your video. Just imagine this. You've probably seen this with some folks on Zoom, where you have no real green screen. You're using that fake virtual one, and you can see a lot of like hands moving and flapping and parts of the body and hair disappearing. That's because there's probably not a real green screen, or there's a couple of mistakes that are being made that we're going to walk through in just a few minutes. So the best place to get them, there's a couple of different places I would suggest. If you want to buy a green screen, you can get one on Amazon. As a matter of fact, let me pop up my store link so that you can have that. I have a shop called streamlikeaboss.shop. And if you go there, you'll actually be able to see a whole section of green screens. There's the big ones, there's little ones that you can put on your chair, there's portable, there's the kind that you leave in place once you put it up. So lots and lots of different options. That's a good place to start. I also, make sure that doesn't pop up. I also recommend bhphotovideo.com. Actually, I think it's bhphoto.com that you can go to, and you'll be able to see some really good sales and deals there. Another place that I tend to kind of look if I'm looking for green screens, literally if you're trying to look for just cloth screen and not have all the gear that comes with it, but you just want something simple and quick, you can actually pick up green cloth, and I'll show you what that looks like in a few minutes, from Hobby Lobby or Joann's Fabrics, depending on where you live. If you're in the United States, there's probably going to be one of those two places near where you are, or even Michael's. But you can pick up some cloth, and that will suffice for your green screen. Actually, that's how I started. Yeah, I'll show it to you in a few minutes because mine is a little further down, but I'll pick it up and show it to you because I'm going to use it in our demo in just a second. All right, what's your next question?
Why, when sometimes I use the green screen shows up in certain spots?
Okay, so this does happen to some folks where you don't have that really smooth look. So you have your green screen and you'll see that there's some spottiness. Either there's blurry parts or you can see that there's like little gray spots. So what she's talking about, you can see this if people aren't using a green screen correctly. And one of the things that you have to do is to make sure that you're well lit, and not just well lit. Like you can't just have the lighting in one spot, which I'm going to show you when we do our demo, but you have to make sure that it's giving you full coverage for the full visual of the set. Like the whole entire window that you're showing to other people should be covered with the proper lighting, and it should be balanced so you're not giving yourself those in and out hot spots. Like you've got shadows. Wherever you have shadows, that's probably going to show up as those little gray spots instead of being really smooth and making it look like your background is real. And that's the look you want. So we'll show you the difference in just a second. All right, you got one more question.
So where do I get these images to put on the green screen? So for my background, how do I find these images?
Goodness, you can find images anywhere. And I see that there's I see a hands up. Thank you. I'm seeing a thumbs up. One of the things that you can do is you can look online, because there are lots of places that will give you images, but you want to make sure that you follow the same rules that you would with any other type of photos or images and graphics that you're using for business purposes. Since the majority of you are actually service providers, coaches, consultants, and course creators, we want to make sure we're following any type of royalty, or we're buying royalty-free stock images, or that we're getting them from a reliable source, so that we can make sure we're giving proper credit, or that we're using them with permission. So a couple of places, Zoom actually has a whole section in the Canva store. So if you go into Canva, if you have a Canva account, there's going to be a whole section. Just type in Zoom and you'll see Zoom backgrounds. Those backgrounds can be used for just about any type of green screen on any platform that you're using. You just download the image and you'll be able to use it. Usually you're going to want to do either a 1920 by 1080, or you're going to do a 1280 by 720 at the smallest. Okay, so 1280 by 720, that's the size, is typically going to be sufficient for most of your live streams if you're doing streaming, because most of the time platforms like Facebook, LinkedIn, they're going to reduce your image from, even if you got HD quality, they're going to reduce you back down to 720 anyway. I tend to use 1920 by 1080, that larger size, just to make sure that it shows up well, even if I'm using YouTube, which I'm broadcasting on multiple spots right now. So it does matter, because you want the quality not to look grainy. You want it to look as real as possible. Okay, so I think I answered your questions, and I don't see any questions yet in the chat, but if you do have questions or you have comments, if you think my daughter did pretty well for her first time on screen, make sure that you put a fire emoji in the chat. I'm looking for you. I want to say hello to you and wave. So again, if you're new, type in #newbie. If you've been here before, type in #OG. We're looking to say hello, and I want to answer your questions as well about green screens too. I know a couple of you asked in the group not too long ago about green screens, so you may have your answers already, but just in case, remember, you got us here, so make sure you ask. Okay, if we don't have questions at this moment, what I'm ready to do is to go ahead and do a quick demo. So as I mentioned already, what we're trying to do is to give you tips for if you're using green screens in small spaces. So we are in a pretty tight space right now, and I'm going to show you what this could look like. So you're going to see a couple of things happening. Hopefully I don't fall or drop anything. But I'm going to actually get the green screen that I typically use today, and I want to show you what that looks like, as well as my original screen. So Naya's going to help me out a little bit here. Here, I'll pop up the chat right there. So scoop that. So because I'm a little bit away from the microphone, you'll see me kind of dragging my green screen. My green screen is right here. It is a collapsible green screen that is made by, actually I think this one was made by Elgato. They don't sell them anymore, but you'll see several that are actually on my store channel. So make sure you check that out. You'll see several, and you'll see a couple that have this collapsible feature as well. So get this set up. And in addition, I'm going to show you, this was my original screen. So like this right here, it's just a cloth. Like this is what I had. I had this taped up in a walk-in closet in my wall. I had it taped up, and I had thumbtacks that were taped or that were pinned to the wall to use as my green screen. So you really can get away with doing something that's a little more affordable if you're not quite ready to invest in the kind that I have that you just saw me pull up. So hold on, let me get this set up. Ironed out. Yes. Okay. So Naya just brought up a good point because I think she remembers when I used to do this. When you have these, notice how it's got all these wrinkles. One of the things that you have to do if you're going to use a cloth is you want to make sure that you've ironed it out. And I used to have to iron it out when I first started doing this consistently. She remembers. But I used to have to iron this out to make sure it was smooth so I didn't have those little gray spots that we were talking about. All right, so let's show you some demos. I'm going to do a couple of things quickly here. I'll pull this up. I'll get behind it. Then I'll try to move it up to you.
Not a lot of space here, obviously. But
okay. So, there we go. So I think I pulled it as close as I could. Move this out of the way. Okay, so I'm going to switch the microphone to me so that they can hear me. All right, you can't see me, but you'll be able to see Naya, and there's a couple of things I want to show you. So notice, first of all, my thumb is hot. Notice, first of all, that because this is a narrow or a smaller space, you can see that there is, like, you don't see the full coverage of the green screen. So if I were to turn on the green screen, which we're about to do now, so Naya, go ahead and, if you would, switch it to the green screen. And let me know when you can see it, because I can't see it. Yeah, we got it. Okay, so notice that there's probably not really good coverage. You can still see the brick wall on the side, and that's the biggest problem when it comes to smaller spaces, is that you need to allow for yourself to have a green screen that's going to give you full coverage, like it's going to take up the whole entire space of your set so that people don't notice that it's a green screen, right? So stage number one, or mistake number one, is having a green screen that's way too narrow. And one of the ways that you can fix this is, there's actually a couple of ways, but we can zoom in with our camera, which I'll show you in a second. But the other thing that you'll notice, can they see it is kind of a little blurry and not really well lit? This area, for sure. All right.
basically all of the bottom, for sure.
Okay, so there's a lot going on here, and it's really grainy, and you don't get high quality. So one thing we're going to do right now is light this thing up. So we're going to turn the lights up. Okay, now notice how much that's already improved our screen. So now you can see, because we're using more lighting, that we're cleaning up the appearance so that it looks a lot more professional, right? It looks more realistic. All right, so next thing I'm going to do, and this is another mistake that tends to be made, as I already mentioned, is you're not zoomed in enough. So if you find yourself having space or not having the green screen and the background fill up the entire space of your set, what you're going to need to do is to zoom your camera in. Either move yourself closer or zoom your camera in, which I'm going to do next. Okay, so we zoomed in pretty good, but do we still have gray spaces? Can you see?
No, you were good.
Okay, can we see your table? But I noticed that there's a little bit of shadow on one of your sides. So what we're going to do is we're going to fix that shadow and make sure that we get rid of any graininess by adding yet another light. So I'll show you what I mean right now. So did that fix it? All right. So we've got another little small light that is giving us additional coverage. Now that we're well lit, look at how clean that background looks. All right. So we got to do one more thing. So if you are like me and you have one of these L-shaped tables or desks, I love my L-shaped desk to work on because it gives me all the space I need, especially with all this video gear. But we're going to use that really cheap, inexpensive Hobby Lobby Hobby Lobby blanket. Let me do that and I'll show you. See how it makes her disappear? Here, give me your. And you won't show up.
Something went wrong, so I retried
Okay.
the connection. And I think we're back.
Okay. We have continued to have some connection issues even with our new internet. So apologies if you see any glitchiness. We'll re-record this if we need to. Again, if you've got questions, make sure you go ahead and ask those. Okay, I'm coming over so we can wrap up.
Wrap it up.
And I will move this back again. And you can just leave the green screen.
How are you going to get in?
I'll get in. All right.
Oh.
Just like that. Okay, folks, so that's our demo. We wanted to kind of show you a little bit of how this works. I know there's a lot of lighting and all kinds of stuff going on right now, but hopefully this is giving you some ideas of things to think about. The most important things to remember will be that you want to make sure that your green screen itself, whatever you use, whether it's portable, collapsible, cheaper, however it works, make sure that you have the type of green screen that's going to be suited for you and the type of videos you're going to be doing. So if you're going to be standing up, you want to make sure it's tall enough. You want to make sure it's wide enough to give you the coverage you need. You want to make sure it's close enough and that you zoom in your camera if you need to do that. Let me fix my mic. I just realized I'm talking away from the mic. Okay, let's recap that one more time. So here's the recap. Make sure that the green screen you purchase is appropriate for the space that you're in. That's what I was saying. And in addition to it being appropriate for the space that you're in, you want to make sure that it's going to be something that you can collapse and put away when you need to, especially if you have a smaller space. you may not have a space that's intended for you to just leave your video gear up all the time. So one of the things that was important to me is to be able to have that feature that allows me to simply put that thing away instead of keeping it up behind me, because I need all the space that I use right here in this studio area. This is also my working space. In addition, make sure that you're watching for the clothes that you're wearing and that you probably don't have on or shouldn't have on something that's green or in the green family. When you're choosing your backgrounds, choose something that's going to be reflecting what it is you want to talk about, reflecting you as a business and as a professional. Also make sure, this is so fun. I love it. Look at this. Look, I got to put this note up and say, give a shout out to Philly Cable Dave. Tia Naya, how are you, young lady? I've been watching your channel for the last couple of weeks, loving your content. Yes. Thank you for coming and hanging out with us. This is my first time having Naya on, but it's been so much fun, and I appreciate her being home and being willing to kind of let me play around with her as my demo model. But the only other thing I want to mention to you about green screens is don't worry about expensive, but make sure it's high quality, right? So if you do go to my store, if you end up there and you're looking around on Amazon and you've got questions, don't be afraid to reach out to me. Somewhere here in the comments, wherever you're watching from, because I can give you some ideas and some thoughts, some things that you want to think about as it relates to your purchase choice. The thing is, you want quality because once you purchase it, if you buy a green screen, you want it to be something that's going to last you for some time, right? If you're just starting out and you don't have the budget to really invest in one like the one I showed you, again, this can be sufficient. As long as you've put the proper lighting in place and you're positioning it in the way that you need to ensure that your background looks realistic. And if you're struggling to find backgrounds, my video guru friend, Lou Bortone, also has a whole set of backgrounds that you can use for video. You can find some on Canva. You can find some on Etsy, etsy.com, ETSY. You can also look on, I think Creative Market may have a few. There's any number of places. If you go to some of the royalty-free stock image places like Deposit Photos, Unsplash is a good spot. Pixabay can be another place that you can go, but just make sure you're doing due diligence and you're using photos that you have permission to use for your background, okay? You can even create your own in Canva that has your own branded logo or your name behind you. So lots of different ways for you to go about finding the right green screen images and also finding the right green screen gear. But if you got questions and you didn't get a chance to ask them today, make sure you reach out. Just share in the comments or DM me, and I'll be sure to give you any resources that I can. All right. Thanks again for watching. Thanks so much for showing up tonight. And we will be wishing everyone a very Merry Christmas and a happy holiday next week. I should be on Tuesday because we're not going to come on Christmas Day or even Christmas Eve. We'll be spending time as a family. But I want to wish you all the best in everything that you do. I hope that you have a great time with your loved ones. And for those of you who have had losses, as I have had several losses in the month of December, just know I'm sending you my best thoughts and prayers. All right, take care, and we'll see you next time. Thanks again for coming.